Hello, everybody. I have been playing Rogue Trader nonstop. It is a CRPG. I didn't think to pick it up and immediately and start playing it. I've played other games by Alcat, and although I did like them, it was a lot of reading and it was kind of tough to get into some of their games. This game, however, is special, and I am here at the very end of the game, past any combat you can ever do. These are the final slides of the game for my ending. So, spoilers. As soon as I start clicking through the screens, there are definitely spoilers to the very end of the game and all the choices I made through it. So I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna go over tips and tricks and stuff in the video. This is more about the ending I got, and yeah, the ending I got, and proved that I did it. And then I'll make a tips and tricks video on how to just get through some of the more annoying bits of the game. So, if you don't want to be spoiled for the very end of the game, if you haven't played through it, I don't recommend watching through all the spoilers, but you've got about 10 seconds to leave the video. So anyway, if you haven't played you haven't played this game and you're thinking about picking it up, yes, this is definitely a very easy pick this game up, and I have put another video out on if you don't want to read everything, you can enable text to speech and have a AI voice kind of mangle all the words, but read out the stuff that's not voice acted to you. And until someone figures out how to enable natural AI voices so that the voice acting is complemented and is really well done, then I can't say I fully recommend this game. But if this can get full voice acted, you don't have to read everything, it would be amazing. I mean, it is amazing, but it'd be that much better. And coming hot off the heels of Baldur's Gate 3, which I played through till the end multiple times, I will say that the CRPG genre for 2023 and starting into 2024 we're eating good. Those are both two very solid games to pick up and put into your game library. Anyway, without further ado, here's the ending I got and all the choices I made along the way. Spoilers, by the way. So I assume everyone's already read this, so I'm not even going to bother reading it. Or you know what, I will read it. The Catan Shard, a deity from a forgotten era, was enslaved by the rogue trader. The Empyrean above the Chronos expanse trembled and trembled, touched by the winds of great change. Having tamed a deity, the Von Valancius dynasty became the dominant power in the expanse. Of course, news of the horrible monster that Cornelius von Valancius was using to terrorize the entire sector would sooner or later reach the Imperium and prompt a punitive expedition. But the rogue trader was given plenty of time to prepare. Ooh. I chose a different option last time I played through this, so this is cool. It's kind of new for me too. Pulled between various forces that were desperate to control the rogue trader, his lordship managed to walk the fine line between fanaticism, heresy, and becoming a heartless monster. Each force was either an ally or an enemy, but none were his master. Cornelius von Valancius served only himself and his dynasty. Everything else was either a resource or a trophy. Yes, it was. Having lost its leader and lacking a worthy successor, the Korda dynasty began to weaken. The grim legacy of the abominable Spice revealed itself, and the Protectorate fell into chaos. Grasping claimants tore the defenseless dements apart. The era of Kalagos's cruelty and the wrath came to an end. Only then did many terrified witnesses to his vile crimes step forward to recount them. Memories of good, prosperous years for the Protectorate under the wise rule of Kalagos Winterscale were eclipsed by the legacy of his innumerable and bloody crimes. Yvain Winterscale underwent his Magna Accession. Accession? Yep, that's how I said it, and I can't take it back. And became his dynasty's new rogue trader. Many said that the noble Yvain lacked firmness of judgment, and yet had more than enough trust, even in those who were unworthy of it. The young rogue trader did not forget those who had saved him from the Reichard system, or the favors that House von Valancius had bestowed upon the Winterscales. Thanks to the patronage of the von Valancius dynasty, the cult of St. Drusus was successful in spreading its influence across the expanse. Overshadowed, the cults of other saints lost their followers and faced a harsh choice: slip into obscurity or swear allegiance to the ideals of Drusus the warrior. Hieronymus Doloroso, say that 3 times fast, remained the most revered priest in the cult of St. Drusus. He turned none away, hearing confessions from pirates, bilge-rats, deserters, and beggars alike. It seemed like it might have been one of those undeserving wretches who infected him with the rare form of leprosy that robbed him of his sight. Yet his heart could always see the corruption in the souls of his repenting children. The deal struck by the cognizant fleet and the von Valancius dynasty replenished the explorers' dwindling supplies and allowed them to re-embark on a rapid and unrelenting expansion campaign. With powerful bases established in the expanse, the Omnissiah scouts bravely ventured forth toward unnamed stars with the same drive that propelled their ancestors to explore the expanse itself. The schism of discontinuing the cycle engulfed the entire cognizant fleet, and soon the Civil War was over. Disregarding the commandments of their forefathers, the explorers started down a dangerous path of new comprehension, creation, and revision of procedures and algorithms. The fleet was united once more, and in its unity was ready to stare down any horrors standing in the way of the catechism of the maintenance and operation. Megos Dominus Opticon 22, one of the first to hail the return of the Messiah, took the helm of the mother squadron of the cognizant fleet, unquestioningly embracing the teachings of discontinuing the cycle. He personally saw to the crushing of any renegades who did not accept the Messiah's word as truth, and earned himself the identifier Chrome Scourge. Profitable deals made between the Fellowship of the Void and the von Valancius dynasty helped them subdue smaller brigand squadrons in the sector. Many worlds and stations saw the opening of Fellowship dens, in which grotesquely sincere pirate representatives took kickbacks from the traders in exchange for safe passage. Naturally, the servants of von Valancius dynasty and the people under the rogue traders' protection were safe from the Fellowship of the Void's attacks. Mostly. For many years, Riza Riza presided over the captains of the Fellowship. At the end of her life, she once again took the helm of a ship and led an unprecedented attack on the mother squadron of the cognizant fleet, during which the attackers managed to seize a dozen transport ships loaded with the Omnissiah's sacred gifts. Pirates. Violence throughout the Expanse put many on their guard, and as a result, the Kazbellica mission's business declined. Soon rumors surfaced of the cold traders about a so-called commission that had been made through the Maw and into the Expanse. Its professed purpose was to audit assets and take measures to restructure operations. These words carried with them an ominous threat. Vladium Tokara. Yeah, Vladium Tokara. Yeah. As Liege of Footfall survived 14 assassination attempts and thwarted no less than 2,000 schemers before a shot finally took his life. The esteemed Liege's funeral was held in great secrecy, with only his closest entourage being permitted to view his corpse, which spawned some peculiar rumors. A multitude of agreements bound the Imperial Navy to the von Valancius dynasty. Captains were eager to patrol the Protectorate, knowing that they would be richly rewarded. Competing ships were lost to pirate attacks and subjected to harsh inspections. Many officers quietly entered the dynasty's service and received a salary and title in exchange for their excellent skills. Worthy admirals valued their new friends and enjoyed more gold on their uniforms. Chartist Captain Asterius Thorfast founded the Thorfast and Companions Merchant Company, excelling in trade and acquiring a substantial escort fleet. After 3 decades, he traveled to the Maw to return to the Imperium in hopes of obtaining the fabled warrant of trade. It is not known how this venture ended. When the rogue trader's apostasy became apparent, the Imperial Navy fulfilled its duty and fought the von Valancius dynasty. The Battle of Dargonus ended in a resounding defeat, and the surviving ships fled to distant systems. Disheartened but not broken, the captains vowed to rebuild their force and planned raids into the apostate territory. The crucial reason for the defeat was an extraordinarily high percentage of captains who betrayed their oaths and defected to the rogue trader's side. Overnight, he acquired a battle-ready fleet of his own. Wow. That was quite the one choice, and that thing just went through just a whole wobble of differences. That was awesome. Darganus grew and prospered until it became the capital of the Cronus Expanse. The planet was like a giant magnet whose pole held together the worlds of the Expanse, absorbing the treasures and vices of the sector. The voracious and shameless nobility of the Expanse flocked to Dargonus in search of forbidden pleasures. Its librarium harbored dangerous volumes, and its dark corners harbored dangerous people. The rule of law could not reach the tops of the spires, shrouded in a veil of sinister and mystical rumors. The foulness that festered in the depths of Kiavada Gama was patient. Its tentacles crept into workshop after workshop, capturing Megos after Megos. The words of the Binharik mantras were distorted, and algorithmic catechism was compromised. Beneath the shell of iron, a vile worm gnawed at the world's heart. Whoops, I made a bad decision. It was for a good cause, though, I promise. The enthroned Null Caliph drew millions of pilgrims and granted the planet hallowed status. Its sacred calculation continued for centuries, and the foremost sages of the Adeptus Mechanicus traveled to the world so they could attempt to divine its meaning. Janus was conquered, the Xenos spirits were exorcised, and the wilderness was subdued. The fields grew until they covered the entire planet, and billions of tons of provisions were harvested there. Janus had become the breadbasket of the Expanse, and to threaten it would be to condemn millions to starvation. The nobility of the Expanse appreciated the idyllic conditions of the pearl-like paradise world. White castles rose above agri-complexes and their mud, and the shining knights of Genghis gifted the sector with many a hero who covered themselves in glory. Woof, that's a lot of reading. We're not even halfway through. Despite grim expectations, the coexistence of humans and Eldari did not lead to enmity. Janus faced many trials, and the struggle against them brought the two peoples together. They did not develop an affection for one another, but they learned to speak with no weapons in their hands. More than one dangerous xenophile schism was born on Janus. The minds of Viabos 6 grew deeper and deeper, and soon the planet became the darkest and most frightening colony in the expanse. The final stop for the exalted and the damned. The brutal, hardened inhabitants of the Death World feared neither humans nor xenohorrors, knew no mercy, and were known as the most fearsome fighters in the sector, who had traded their lives for the right to leave the eternal darkness of the mines. Guarded, luxurious palaces were built under the climate domes shrouded by clouds of poison. They housed so many powerful blackguards, persecuted aristocrats, and wealthy scoundrels. Viabos 6 gained unimaginable political influence. Such grand and sinister deeds were done there that before long the grim death world was spoken of as the new political center of the expanse. No longer secluded and forlorn, Falstone turned into the spiritual center of the expanse. Clad in gold and power, the rulers went there to be anointed for greatness, criminals for penance, and the righteous for encouragement, and there was no end to them in sight. Treasures and influence quickly corrupted the supreme hierarchs of Falstone, turning them into a coterie of venal egotists anointed by greed, and they did their dirty deeds under the cover of holy vestments. Their power steadily grew, and it is hardly surprising that a few years later the hierarchs of Falstone recognized the blood relation between their patron, the von Valentius dynasty, and Saint Cognatius himself. The fate of the pure-voiced prophet, guardian of the hallowed crucible, was a sad one. After visiting 7 worlds and bestowing blessings of transformation upon him, he made it to 7 worlds and turned them into, like, agri-worlds. That's pretty good. Yeah, 7, yeah, every world he touched turned into basically a new agri-world, which might eventually turn into a pleasure world. 7 worlds pretty good. He perished at the hands of the bloodthirsty Drukhari pirates, along with his retinue and the priceless relic. After recovering from Cordia's regime, Footfall reclaimed its status as a trading hub of the Expanse. Having learned a bitter lesson, Vladium Tokara created the Footfall Partisans Militia, a well-equipped mercenary army that answered only to him. A modicum of order returned to the station. Left without a stun, the Reikiad system ceased to exist. Its now frigid planet spun away into the darkness, no longer held by the gravitational pull of their star. A century later, a fragment of Reikiad Minoris entered the Fuibundus system and was snared by void miners. A piece of its rock was delivered to Footfall with reverence and used in the restoration of the God Emperor's statue as a final memorial to the world devoured by corruption. I think that was different from... Wow, one choice changed that. That was interesting. With the fall of their unholy patron, the edge of daybreak, the cult of the final dawn perished as well. Every cell of the cult was hunted down and eliminated. Rumors that some of the worshippers of the ruinous powers had managed to get away, hiding the writings of their warped, banished lord under their robes, were baseless. Left without a mission or a leader, the world bearers retreated into the depths of the Immaterium. Their last act of vengeance was a bloody assault on Footfall. The populace of several asteroids was exterminated or enslaved, and the statue of the God Emperor was badly damaged. Okay, so this slide needs to be switched to the other side, that the statue got fixed, because this is what broke the statue, and then the statue got fixed in the previous slide. So slides are mismatched and poorly arranged, apparently. Rumors of the rotten remains of an Aldari craft world spread around the expanse. Explorators, privateers, Casablanca agents, and anyone hungry for easy money all rushed to the frontier systems to vie for a piece of the prize. Some were swallowed by the warp, while others perished in skirmishes with their rivals. The most skilled and fortunate returned empty-handed after decades of searching. The colossal ship, as big as an imperial world, simply vanished, as if it had never existed. But the legend of the forbidden treasure lived on and continued to bring daring souls to ruin. When the news of the death of the master of flesh, holy, that is a lot of, reached him. Oh boy, here we go. I'm gonna try to pronounce this one. Shirenki. Yep. Shirenki sent what was left of the Eldari ships to the most distant stars of the expanse. There, hidden from human eyes with xenotech and sorcery, the Eldari carried on their humble existence and even managed to establish a few contacts among the trusted Monkey, who helped the Xenos in return for knowledge and technology. Eldari from the fallen craft world of Kudarak, who once traveled through the darkness of the expanse in a desperate attempt to gather the remains of their kind, were becoming a rare sight. Even the most skillful Casablanca agents and audacious bounty hunters with knowledge of Xenos settlements at the edges of the expanse could no longer find their trail. Squads of Aldari Rangers suddenly appeared on different worlds and disappeared abruptly without shedding a drop of blood. Their purpose remained an enigma. The news of Xenos appearing in the expanse was followed by a report to the agri-world Janus about a strange flash in the night sky. When the light disappeared, authorities sent out patrols that located a Xenos camp among the ancient ruins. Their trail ended near a white monument, a webway gate. Where this path led the Eldari, only their far steers know. From time spent on the same world as the monkey pushed the Farseer Maran toward reflection. When the webway gate awoke Janus and the squads of the Eldari Rangers stepped onto their ancestors' world, he averted a bloodbath, granting Liliathan and its new native citizens his blessing. He disappeared through a shining portal, departing for a new home. The spirit monolith, purified by the Harlequin troop on the Crone world, was hidden from insatiable eyes of the Monkey by raging warp storms. Ships started going missing more frequently in the systems close to the planet. Even the most courageous captains gave the region a wide berth, and it was named the Damned Reefs. Somewhere on the underside of reality lay Cormora, woven from manifold of other dimensions, always illuminated with the light of stolen suns, its streets ever filled with screams and agony. Any misfortune experienced by the Dark City became another scar in its appalling face. Lost among thousands of other vile blemishes, as long as pain pulsed in its blood-soaked spires, the insatiable and unshakable Cormora continued its flight through the webway along with its unchanging ruler, the I killed him deader than dead, and he definitely is not living anymore and is no longer in charge of anything. Leader of the Cabal, the Black Heart, and the most dangerous of all Drukhari, Astrubal Vect, who is very much dead because I killed him deader than dead and made sure Selenash took his soul. Or no, his soul's in a soul gem on Mazari's belt, and he's being tortured forever. He got a good ending, and he's dead. After the rogue trader's vision, dimensional rifts opened around the spire of the Reaving Tempest, flooding the streets of Qualmara with demons. This incursion terrified Qualmara. The Cabal of the Black Heart managed to stop it, but some of the Archons saw the event as a sign of their leader's weakness. Others interpreted it as a grim omen for the entire Dark City. The fall of the Cabal, the Reaving Tempest, united Qualmara for a brief but bloody moment. The elites of the Dark City set their squabbles aside and found a new game in tearing apart the domain of Archon Yevamyrus. The fate of the Reaving Tempest reminded the other Cabals that nothing lasts forever in the Dark City, save for the city itself. Leaving the Necron systems behind, the Star God vengefully obliterated every tomb world of the ancient Xenos race. The old hatred for the Catan, betrayed by their deathless servants, whispered inside him. I put him in a Pikachu ball box and used his power and abused his power for my own good, so I don't understand how he got out and destroyed planets, but okay, whatever. The voice of Voxmaster Vigdis Suri Otta of the Ptoleman dynasty was long heard in the Chronos Expanse, trumpeting the arrival of the rogue trader. It brought glad tidings to the faithful and instilled horror in heretics awaiting righteous retribution. After her death, Vigdis was granted the honor of being immortalized in a herald server skull. For many centuries to come, her voice praised the Von Valancius dynasty and transmitted orders across decks. Thanks to the captain's influence, Idara and Vigdis became close once again, mending their sundered friendship. They were often seen talking at the card table over glasses of Amasek. The pale cheeks of the Voxmaster would brighten with color after such encounters, a sight as rare as a void kraken. Enjoying these precious moments, the good friends tried not to dwell on how long either of them had left. Helmsmaster Ravenor diligently executed his duties until his dying day without succumbing to sleep's sweet embrace. Only when a piece of a shell penetrated the bridge's armored hull and was stopped by the stern officer's unyielding chest did he finally know rest, leaning against the trusty helm. Many years later, High Factorum Janus Danrock sought permission to retire. He said that age had softened his heart and that a more worthy young assertive successor should take over his position. There was no shortage of candidates. Under all that fat, Danrock had a sentimental heart. He spared nothing for the orphans who had died serving the rogue trader. The children were given an excellent education and were eager to serve the Von Valancius dynasty. Man, I thought this guy was going to be a bad guy. It turns out he was awesome. Is that a U? Is that an A? It's probably a U. Urban Drive Stem, whatever his name is. He's like some kind of governor or something like that. Cared more about preserving the influence of his line than the well-being of the Protectorate. His blind ambition lost him his governor's seat and the respect of his family. Within a few generations, one of the largest houses of Dargonis turned out to be an obscure family of petty aristocrats. Yeah, he was... I don't know who that was. He was just kind of some loser somewhere. Let's see here. Toriana Gaprek missed the moment when her family, which had previously functioned like a well-oiled machine, started to fall apart, racked by infighting among the distant relatives, and blamed Toriana for the Kiev Gamma disasters. Soon, the Gaprek family splintered into warring factions and spent centuries locked in a violent struggle, only and only occasionally punctuated by futile attempts to reunite the house. Well, I get words like Evemerus right, but I can't I'm struggling over easy words. Whoops. Macarius. Let's see here. Macarius Sourback was loyal to the rogue trader to the last. Despite all the rumors to the contrary, finding little affection among his subjects or family, he stayed true to himself, remaining a forthright, severe, and pious person. Macarius strived to ensure that every soul in his charge felt justifiable dread before both him and the God Emperor. Members of House Wissarion served the dynasty faithfully, loyally, and amassing more and more power. A century later, they had finally gained the respect enjoyed by other noble houses. Yet, power and luxury can dull any blade. Now the pampered and idle aristocrats were scarcely recognizable as descendants of the formidable Sensual Wissarion. I think this slide it doesn't reflect what's coming next. Anyway. For reasons unknown, members of the Wissarion family found themselves time and again as targets of assassinations, victims of unpredictable riots, and the focus of palace intrigue. The misfortune that plagued their house suddenly stopped when Regina Sourback met her end. This should be the first slide, because this is what happened in the game. Clementia Wissarion, daughter of Abelard and the Chancellor of Dargonis, executed her duties irreproachably, and even found time to school the younger generations of her family. She was equally a skilled mentor, chancellor, and political operative. After a century of immaculate service, she surprised everyone by leaving her position and becoming first mate on a trade ship. She would later admit, like a true Wissarion, that she had always had a passion for ships and voidfaring. Branches of House Gaprek and the Wissarion became intertwined for a time after the marriage of Astaria and Vincent. To the great sadness of the couple and the great amusement of the spiteful Dragonis nobility, their marriage produced no children. Just like her ancestors, Astartia Wissarion Graphic Astaria Wissarion Graphic dedicated her life to service. Crushed by the events that shook the stability of his house and his inability to provide an heir, Vincent lived in his wife's shadow. When his time came, he passed away without notice. I don't think I could do anything to influence that. Whew, that was a paragraph. Anyway. The Harlequin known as the Nocturne of Oblivion visited the Expanse once again. Sneaking onto Dargonis, he came to the rogue trader's palace and left him a special gift. A case of Aldari crafting, unmistakably ancient and precious, adorned with the rune of an eye inside a triangle. Only the Lord Captain knew what it contained. The Harlequin candidly warned him that he was drawing the von Valancius dynasty into a deadly dance, a shaking doom that will freeze within the threads of terror's loom. Then he promptly departed, and without reason, a few hours later, assassins from the Dark City appeared, following his trail, and were mercilessly killed. Their armor bore the sign of the Cabal of the Black Heart. Yeah, this character is awesome. And if you know anything about the Harlequins, like when you first get introduced to him, it's like whoa. And then like later run-ins, like all the hair on my body like stood on end as I was staring at him intently, waiting for him to do something awesome. And in one of the encounters, he did something awesome, and I nearly jumped out of my chair and went, "I knew it! I knew you were the most dangerous being in existence!" And yep, yeah, practically jumped out of my chair. It was pretty cool. After months of searching Dargonis, wardens found the remains of Achilles Scalander on the lowest levels of the hive. Drukhari artifacts and records discovered beside him indicated that the agent of the Inquisition had been compromised and was working for the Xenos. Let's see here. Mara Zahai confirmed the guilt of the deceased Inquisition agent and described in detail the torture he inflicted upon the poor soul to gain his obedience and loyalty. He also confirmed that Urilet had found and killed his monkey toy. Yet few chose to believe the words of the cursed Xenos, and thus the secret of the death of Achilles Scalander was never publicly known. The old slith Malice did not risk returning to Kamara, where the cult of the Fatal Thirst was exacting vengeance on anyone who had helped the rogue trader. He took to piracy. He escaped his cage, forming a crew from the remnants of the Reaming Tempest, rekindling his old thirst for battle, and he seemed to shed a good 100 years off his age like a snakeskin. The savage deeds of Gordy... Yeah, what? The savage deeds of Gordy Skatov, witnessed on footfall, traumatized him forever. His architectural genius was shattered. Only the rare collections of true connoisseurs held his work written in a shaky hand. Footfall, the ultimate void, station, and mortuary. Who is this? What? I have no idea who this is. Having completed his last journey with the Lord Captain Abalad Wasirian, with gracious permission of the rogue trader, left his post as seneschal and took over the helm of his large family. House Wasirian rose above its rivals and was never again the target of persecution. Even after their esteemed patriarch died decades later in his bed surrounded by his grieved loved ones. Okay, so this is in direct confliction with the first slide about the Wasirians, and that's I don't understand why that first slide is so conflicting with this one. Hopefully that'll get fixed in a patch. Abelard's shining memory was blighted only by rumors of a creeping madness in the twilight of his life. Many said that they had seen the esteemed seneschal talking to someone unseen in a voice with unusual tenderness and sorrow. Sister Argenta made no secret of the great respect and gratitude she felt towards the Lord Captain. Yet duty compelled her to leave the Von Valancius' retinue. With the blessing of the ecclesiarchy, she founded a minor order of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Order of the One Star. United around the Keeper, the sacred relic, its sisters protected the faithful from the dangers of still lurking in the expanse. The wider order and its courageous founder quickly became heroes of legend, instilling hope and inspiration in the hearts of Terra's faithful children. Yep. So basically, she was just running around like, look at my clothes! I'm so awesome! The Emperor loves me. He gave me these clothes. Woohoo! Aren't I great? You guys suck, but I can help you. Yet the conflict between the Imperium and the head of the von Valancius dynasty could not but affect the young order. Some sisters demanded that Argenta denounce her former commander. She was very much holier than the rest of them, and let them know that she was holier than thou, often, frequently, and annoyingly, and she never shut up about it. The Mercatarium Tabula Officiale, wow, the Mercatum Tabula Officiale unlocked a sea of possibilities for Jay Hidari. She left the Kazbalika mission and became an independent agent, choosing one's dynasty. One's dynasty is a unique gift that ordinary mortals could never dare dream of. But Jay was no ordinary mortal. She found new friends, skillfully danced along the knife's edge between trade and piracy, stole from the strong, granted mercy to the weak, and even bought a couple of modest planets. She never betrayed herself. Half a century later, after a fledgling rogue trader whose name is now forgotten brutally crushed Jay, accusing her of abusing her power, the rogue trader conquered her worlds, exterminated her people, and did everything in her power to wipe Jay's name and the vulgar deeds from the Expanse's memory. Wow, everything was so great until like the half a century later bit. Like, what? Did I not do everything I could to help? I guess if I didn't romance her, I can't, she can't have a happy ending. Lame. Heinrichs van Kalix, the former Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos, took the mantle of Lord Inquisitor after his mentor's death, receiving both the Inquisitor's rosette and the duty of defending the sector from the enemies of humanity. Van Kalix became the new Warden of the Cronus Expanse. After laying his hand on the instruments of mass destruction, the Inquisitor announced a crusade against many heresies of the Expanse, with no regards to the lives of the lost and no mercy for the smallest offenses. He purged the region with fire and sword, united thousands of fanatics under his banner. Oh, banter too. When the Inquisitor Van Kalix's time came to an end, he left behind a massive retinue of acolytes. One of them assumed his mentor's mantle when the Inquisitor fell, fighting unknown Xenos in the galactic south of the Expanse. Everything's been like all grimdark and crazy. Well, except for Argentia. Argentia got installed on top of the rogue trader's ship as a dorsal weapon for space combat, and then the ship became unrivaled in any combat and destroyed anything that came in its way after. Especially with the gun she got at the end of the game, because she go DACA real good. In her journeys with the rogue trader, Cassia Orselio experienced the hardships and delights of the galaxy. The invaluable experience and knowledge helped her to finally conquer her fears and accept herself and her powers. The Lady Navigator became the Novator of her house, tasked with addressing the consequences of Tisiphone's rule and the chaos that followed her disappearance. For the duration of her reign, she patiently worked on uniting the feuding branches of the house, forging alliances, and expanding the influence of House Orselio. The Stairway Atlas, which contained the memories of Tisiphone and the Sethala clan, lost its power. The House Orselio's navigators once again had to rely on skill alone in the depths of the Immaterium. Many lost their lives, but those who survived the crisis became hardened veterans and pillars of the house. Most of the fortunate souls were young and brave. Too few among them were old and wise. Despite this many scandalous rumors almost every night about a love affair with the rogue trader, uh, Lady Navigator Cassia continued to accompany her lover amongst the stars of the expanse for a time. For a really long time. Their love was delicate and selfless. The Lord Captain and the Lady Navigator wordlessly understood and accepted each other's feelings, even after Cassia ascended the throne as Novator. She spurned all claims on her hand and heart, remaining loyal to her first and only love. After years passed, mutations transformed her body, but the bond between the Lord Captain and the Lady Navigator endured, and they continued to find solace and consolation in each other. And they had tons of kids, like lots of them. It's like every time that they went on a mission where they risked their life, they came back and, how do they put it? Kept making scandalous rumors. So, like, every time they went down to a planet in a shuttle and had to fight for their lives, they came back and had another scandalous rumor. They had lots of kids. Idara Talas lived several more years after the Rogue Trader's grand campaign on Epitaph. Despite her short life, she left behind many legends and tales of her adventures in the Lord Captain's service, and of the terrible warp phenomena that she manifested. Shortly before her death, Idara vanished from her post, and Jay disappeared with her. When Jay returned many cycles later, she declared that Idara's last days had been full of joy and adventure, and that her greatest pleasure had been watching the void whales play. That could have been a cool scene. Having revealed himself as the renewed messiah of discontinuing, Pascal Inuman, yeah, okay, say that 3 times fast, had caused great turmoil. Free from his vows of service, he did not burden himself with the leadership over the fleet. He took just one combat squadron and retreated with his flock to remote sectors for contemplation. Decades later, his ships were spotted amongst the heretics of the Cauldron, a sector touched by corruption. Their tech crews revered the Omnissiah, and there were many of just tech magos just swinging a sensor around. They were just swinging that sensor. They were swinging it all day. That's all they do. They just mumble to themselves to swing a sensor around like it does something. God, their ships must stink. But his image was haunting. No one had dared depict the Deus Mechanicus in this manner before, adorned with a sinister flesh-embedded lumens and golden mech armor, and crowned with clawed wings, the Omnissiah chose a grim and belligerent likeness in which appeared before his unrighteous Messiah. And they swing those sensors around. They were like doing crazy shit with those sensors. They were like using them as helicopters, getting around the ships and stuff. They were like swinging them things like they can't believe. Swing them sensors, Mechanicus. Just swing them. For many years, Urlet traveled at the rogue trader's side, helping him decipher the secret of the Los Xenos races, and lending him wisdom of her kind. Half a century later, she sensed that it was time to say goodbye. The path of the outcast had come to an end. After forbidding well to her Alantark, Urlet made her way to her surviving kin. Urlet followed a new path, the path of the war. She only hoped she would never be forced to raise her weapon against the mortals who had become her true brothers and sisters in arms. Rumor has it that Girilet and Pascal met again amongst alien stars. A band of Aldari warriors were trying to protect the ancient planetary's edifice of their people from the covetous servants of the Omnissiah. Upon learning that Urilet was leading the Xenos, Pascal personally descended to the planet and struck down his former comrade in arms. Her death did not stir any feelings in his metallic heart. Wow. Well, looks like letting him, be the guy. I made one little, that's what I made a bad choice. Whoopsie. Everybody's favorite waifu died. Except for my favorite waifu. Marazai Aziriash, also known as the Tempest Doom, spent several years with the rogue trader, filling the entire crew with terror. However, with time, his restless and ambitious nature got the better of him. Having grown weary of the company of the Monkey, the Drukari left the ship. Soon after, the Cronus Expanse saw the rise of a new mercenary group, a motley army of humans and Xenos led by a bloodthirsty and ruthless Drukari leader. Okay, so something is definitely like bugged out during his quest line. Like I searched high and low and everywhere I could, and I even like looked at all the guides, went to all the places, did all the things. And apparently something must have bugged out and I didn't get the right ending for him. And for some reason the guy I definitely killed is still the Archon. So okay. Guess we have to wait for a patch that gets fixed. Years later, Marazai's name resounded to the Expanse once more. His gang had intercepted Astartia Syrian ship. Her head was delivered to Elabard with a note informing him that it was a gift from an old acquaintance in remembrance of a glorious past. Whoops. Yeah, that was... wow. Bellard's grief sent him on a 6-year-long hunt for the despicable Xenos, which sadly was unsuccessful. Wow, dude. Like, I liked Marazai, but like, yo, you're getting given to the Inquisition after a certain point. If this is not, well, if his actual good ending doesn't get fixed. After joining the Stormbiters, Ulfar Thunderlung soon became the pack leader, taking the place of Thorvald, who met an honorable end. The new leader sent a message to the Fenris stating his intention to remain in the Expanse. There were too many enemies yet lurking in the hunting grounds that deserved the Allfather's wrath. Legends paved the formidable pack's path in gold. Years later, Ulfar found a battle in which he could meet his honorable death. But the warp was suddenly torn asunder, and ships from Fenris, bearing the black mark of the wolf head, came to his aid. Saved from the battlefield by his loyal companion Halbrand, Ulfar accepted the honors of a dreadnought and was entombed in sacred armor. During the blessed ritual, he cursed and demanded to be left to his death, but his brothers merely answered with mirthful laughter. When he recovered his senses, Ulfar led his forces to the heathen stars, where the Allfather had given him a new mission in a near-death vision. No one in the Expanse has heard of the Space Wolves since their departure, yet many believe that one day they will return victorious. The mysterious entity named Nomos left the Von Valencia ship, but not the Expanse. Rumors about machines behaving strangely and worryingly potent tech miracles emerged every year on dozens of worlds. Such miracles were as bizarre as they were terrifying and often resulted in death and destruction. There were many who wanted to find the source of these strange phenomena, yet Nomos was sufficiently cautious to avoid apprehension. Such was the echoes and deeds of the rogue trader of House Von Valencia's deeds that transformed the Cronus Expanse and prepared it for the events even darker and more violent. But those are the events of a different story. this one has come to an end. And with that, that's the ending I got. And looks like I gotta go back through and make a few different choices to get like one of the bestest best endings. But I think my next playthrough I'm gonna be like a melee heretic and just go crazy on the heresy because it sounds like fun. Anyway, if you like the video, leave a like. If you got a comment, leave a comment. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.